Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to fanatics.com by using the QR code on your screen right now to celebrate your teams.
And with that, welcome on in to Inside Edge Primetime here. And with that, welcome on in, everybody, to Inside Edge Primetime. Mics are muted. We are having a heck of a day. We are on live. Boom. I don't know what's been going on with the intro video, but this is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. A beautiful video by Bryan, and then, of course, we just can't get on the screen. Here we are. Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Thank you so much for tuning on in here with us on this amazing Tuesday. Of course, you heard at the beginning, Fanatics, one of our great sponsors here on the Inside Edge Network. Make sure you go to the QR code, which is that way. Boom, that way. I got it today, Chad. Yep, you can see it there. Go there, get the link, and get some great stuff off Fanatics.com, some great jerseys, some hats. I got a great lid on right now. Mine's Eli Moon tonight, but I know there's some great Cavaliers hats out there. Some, if you're listening in Orlando, some Magic hats. Won't necessarily catch me wearing an Orlando Magic hat, but there are people out there, Chad, that will wear an Orlando Magic hat.
I'm sure there are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'm not going to see many in Cleveland right now.
Exactly. You know, and the Cavs obviously taking care of business. Currently, they're battling the Orlando Magic, a team that is a playoff team. We'll talk about that in a moment. First off, pal, how are you feeling?
Good. It's Tuesday. It doesn't feel like a Tuesday. My week's all off, man. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I feel like the weather's been crazy for me. You know, I was just talking to you before the show, before we got on live, about how it was 80, like mid-80s basically in Texas. I was in Texas, you know, for those that are just tuning in for the first time. You know, I was in Texas. I make obviously music. I'm going to turn myself down here a little bit, Chad. I feel a little loud there. But
don't yell at him. Don't yell at everybody.
Yeah, you know. But I make music, so basically, I was out there in Texas. I was doing the Thriller in Texas Festival. I was rocking and rolling out there. I was out there from Thursday to Saturday, and then it just got cold when I got back. So I'm back in the city. I'm rocking and rolling, but I'm not liking the cold weather. Besides that, I'm doing good though, man. It's been a blessing. I'm excited for everything coming up and what we got going on with the network, what we got going on with the collective. I feel good, man. I feel good. So we got a lot to talk about too today.
Nice. Yeah, we do.
So let's get into it. The Cavs playing right now. I'm looking right here. 114-105 is the score. I got it on the big screen, of course, here at the house because, you know, we bleed wine and gold over here. And it's been a really interesting game. The Cavaliers were tied basically going into halftime darn near until James Harden hit a 4-point play, fouled by Paolo Banchero. And obviously this is a game right now. You look at it. This is end of March. This isn't going to be okay if the Cavs win this game. They're the clear Eastern Conference favorite. But at the same point in time, this is a pretty important game. This is a team that you've played, if you're the Cavaliers, in the first round a few years ago. This is a team that is on a trajectory where, okay, the Cavaliers kind of abandoned in a way, which is okay if it works out, the core four, where Orlando has Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, you know, these guys, they've dealt with some injury issues, but they have these guys. They've had Desmond Bane. They have these guys that really add a lot of depth to that team. And this is a measuring stick game. This is a team that's 8th place in the Eastern Conference, a team that you could see in the second round, depending how the seeding works out right now, because the Cavs are 4th in the Eastern Conference, Orlando 8th. So if it works out where Orlando were to finish 8th, they get in, you know, obviously got to win the play-in tournament, whatever, and then you get into that matchup against Detroit, and they upset Detroit. Well, now you're looking at Cleveland versus Orlando. Yeah. And so this is a very real possibility that you're looking at a playoff matchup. So I think this is an important game, and it's been interesting to see a few things, Chad. in this game, we've seen James Harden and Donovan Mitchell really be that 1-2 punch. That's why we brought James Harden into Cleveland. This is why we traded 26-year-old Darius Garland for 36-year-old James Harden. This is why we made the move, because we wanted somebody that could go take some of the pressure off of Donovan Mitchell, get the relief off of, and help Donovan Mitchell there. So I feel like that's very, very important and something that I thought was something cool. And I want to talk about that here in a minute. The other thing, real quick, is the aggressiveness of Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley has been so aggressive in this game. He's making, where people drive to the lane and get a dunk, or excuse me, a layup, he's making them dunks, just putbacks. He is being very aggressive. So those have been my two takeaways, Chad. And I know it's been a hectic night and a hectic week for you. I know you've been catching as much as you can of the game. But I wanted to ask you this. This is the question that's been on my mind.
Yeah.
Regardless of the game tonight,
Mm-hmm.
do you believe that the duo of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden is enough to win an NBA championship? Because that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's why we brought him in.
I was going to say, you really want to hope it is, because that was the reason for the move, right? That's why you got rid of Garland. But yeah, you hope it is. I don't know. We talked about how good of a job he's done with Jared Allen, especially. Maybe Evan Mobley is a part of that too. It seems like, like I said, Mobley, I think is 8 of 8 from the floor. Hasn't attempted a three, so I don't know. Obviously, some room to score for him without having to drop back and shoot some threes or whatever. But Harden is just his passing. I don't know. With Mitchell's score, if Mitchell's healthy and Harden is healthy going into the playoffs, I would like to think that it's a pretty good 1-2 punch. It just depends on who shows up. You're gonna have to get some bench stuff. You can't roll with 5 starters all the way through the NBA playoffs, right? Like, you're gonna have to get production out of 8, 9, maybe 10 guys, right?
Right.
I think that's been kind of the knock on the Cavs in the playoffs in the past. Like, the rotation, it really shrinks down, right? Guys that you can really trust for like significant playoff minutes in certain series, especially against physical teams, and they're going to see that. And that was just the East standings. When's the last time you could really look at the East and see, like, all the way down to the Magic at 8? You've got teams that are above 500. Even through, like, right on through the Hornets. They're sitting there at 38 and 34.
That's the interesting thing.
You got to go all the way down to Milwaukee. That's 29 and 42 before you get to a losing team. So, in a year where we thought the East was going to be wide open, like, all of a sudden maybe it's like a little bit more compacted than we thought, a little tougher.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because you look at the Cavs. They're about, I believe, 4 games up for the 4th seed over the Raptors right now. Yeah. But then you look at after that 4 and 4.5 up on the Hawks for the 6th seed. 5.5 up on the Sixers. But the real interesting thing is between 5 and 10 right now, there's a 2.5 gap right now currently for that spot. So that's why I keep saying we really don't know who the Cavs are even playing in the first round right now. So all this talk, I've heard talk of the Cavs should play the seeding matchup. Should they play, Boston in the second round, or maybe, try to match up where they play them in the Eastern Conference Finals? Look, at the end of the day, Boston isn't going anywhere except for to the Eastern Conference Finals again, more than likely. They have looked like a juggernaut since Jason Tatum's return. They've looked good before he even returned. They just look even better now. And if not them, it's the New York Knicks. 2 teams that the Cavaliers have had struggles with in the postseason. They aren't going anywhere. You can try to hide from them, but what does that ultimately look like? Then what do you believe in as the Cavaliers if you can't beat these teams? You're going to have to beat them. Yes, you're going to have to beat Toronto or a Philadelphia or Orlando or one of these teams. But the true measuring stick is if you can beat Boston, if you can beat New York, one of those teams, and get to the NBA Finals. So I think the seeding talk is, to me, it's pointless. You got to play everybody at this point. You should just be ready to play everybody. But I feel the other thing is, this is a very pivotal postseason for the Cavaliers. We talk about it all the time. We talk about, they got to win an NBA championship. And obviously, I get the pleasure of producing Midnight Run on with Anthony Alford here on the Inside Edge Network. And I heard him talking yesterday, and he asked me about it, about the finals or bust concept for the Cavaliers. Now, Chad, I'm going to say here on Primetime, and all due respect, and I love my bro Double A, I don't think it's a finals or bust season or situation for the Cavaliers. Here's why. There's 2 different reasons. One, and here's the 2 reasons are 2 different players.
Okay.
LeBron James,
Okay.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay.
This is the offseason or the season before the offseason of Giannis and LeBron.
All right.
Giannis is staying in Milwaukee right now, and maybe we should be whispering a little bit more.
I was gonna say you're saying his name too loud. Yeah.
I know, my apologies. But we should be looking at this as, okay, if they can get out of the second round and then they fall, like I said yesterday at Midnight Run, if they fall 6 or 7 games to Boston or New York, would it break my heart? Yes. But knowing that we could get the kid from Akron back in Cleveland in LeBron James, knowing that the Cavs might really just say, you know what, core 4 no more completely, and we're getting Evan Mobley out of town or one of these guys and getting Giannis, that's doomsday scenario if they weren't to get to the finals. But I don't think it's finals or bust, blow up the whole situation, Donovan Mitchell's out of town. I think it's just retooling. And I think because of those two players' availability, and especially LeBron James' connection and ties to Cleveland, I think it's a real possibility that this is just you got to get out of the second round. You have to get over the hump of that at least. Show us that Donovan Mitchell can't get out of the second round in his career. Get out of the second round. James Harden has had so many postseason failures recently. Get into the Eastern Conference Finals again, for goodness sake. Be one of those last two teams standing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think it's progress or bust, right? And progress can't look like a better loss in the second round. That would be great after 2 gentlemen sweep. I mean, you've been beaten in 4 to 5 games, badly, just out physical, out everything, right? Progress can't look like a little bit. Okay, well, we got to a 6th game in the second round. That's pretty good. I don't think so. Like you said, I think they have to get out of the second round. You have to get into the Eastern Conference Finals and compete there, right? If you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you compete. Let's say it's against Boston, and like you said, they fall in 6 or 7, and they don't look outmatched in 3 of the 4 losses, where it's 121 to 86 or something. You obviously don't want to see that, because then you feel like you're really, really far away from a team that we all thought was going to crumble a little bit, right? In the offseason, we thought the Celtics can't stay together. They're going to crumble. They're right there. The East is going to be wide open. Like you said, there's 15,000 teams within 2.5 games of each other for the playoffs. It's wild. It's weird that we're looking at we're just a couple of weeks away from the end of the season, really. 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever you want to call it, and we can't really, like you said, you can't play the seeding game. You have to be ready for everybody. So, I don't know. I just think it's progress or bust. You've got to get to the next level of the playoffs, and it would help to compete. Nobody wants to see them go there and get swept by Boston. That doesn't feel like progress, right? That just feels like, all right, they got to the next level, but they don't look any better by default, right? The middle of the East was okay, so they got through that, and that's fine. But they're clearly not at the same level as the top of the East, and that's not going to get them to where we wanted to get. Is that going to be enough to entice a guy like Giannis to want to even consider coming here and to go through all that? Is LeBron going to come back and play with a team that just kind of seems stuck in the mud? I mean, he came here the first time and they had been stuck in the mud for 4 years, or 7 years rather. So I don't know. I mean, it feels like progress or bust, I guess, to me.
And here's the thing, Chad. We talk all the time, and we love Donovan Mitchell here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell is a beloved NBA star, superstar. In my opinion, he's a superstar. Mm-hmm. But we talk all the time about James Harden's legacy. And, James Harden, obviously 36 years old. Donovan Mitchell will be 30 years old in September. Yeah. After this season, he'll be going into his 30-year-old season. And I know that's not ancient or old or anything like that. I'm definitely not going to say that. I'll be 29 in July, okay? But here's the reality of the situation. He is coming up on the back end of his career. Once you turn 30, you're now in your backswing of your career. He's a 7-time All-NBA, or 7-time NBA All-Star, I believe 2-time NBA All-NBA, but he's never won an MVP or anything like that. We start talking about legacies and things like that. This is a very important stretch right now, these next 2 seasons for Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, it's been magnified about if he's going to stay in Cleveland or things like that. Yeah. I think the reasons I brought up earlier are enough for him to stay, and an opportunity to team up with LeBron, have Harden stay for another year with the chemistry they've had. I think that's enough, but we start talking about legacies and what Donovan wants to achieve. Now we start talking about NBA championships, Hall of Fame status, and the resume is good, but without an NBA championship or a Finals MVP, it's lacking a little bit. So obviously we talk about Harden, but Donovan, this is super important right now, this next year, 2-year stretch. Yeah. And I'm very curious to see, but I don't know. I guess to answer my own question, I don't know if this is enough to win an NBA championship because they just cannot seem to get Jared Allen on the court long enough to stay healthy. I mean, he's had a very rough stretch staying healthy, and if he's not going to be healthy, they're going to struggle against teams like the New York Knicks, like the Boston Celtics, but especially the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson has our number in the playoffs, and that's what scares me. It's if Jared Allen's not there, they really don't have a presence. Now, granted, Bryan has been stepping up. He's having a pretty good game tonight too, but at the end of the day, you need Jared Allen out there. We've stressed so much, especially on this network. He is one of the main cogs in this system. Him getting going early, the running the pick and roll, get into the hoop. He really impacts the game early and often. And yes, the Cavs have looked good on the road, and they look good tonight so far. It looks like they may hang on to this one. 123-114 the score right now, under 6 to go. But they need Jared Allen, Chad. Yeah. So I kind of agree with what you had originally said, which is, yes, we don't know if it's necessarily the duo that's going to be enough. It's going to be these supporting pieces, including Sam Merrill, the returning Max Strus that's here now, back in Cleveland. Evan Mobley, what's he going to do? But with a big looming offseason and some big names, guys are going to be playing for their Cleveland future and really their respect in the league, I feel like a little bit too, because, I'm sure Evan Mobley has heard the talks around, about should they move off of him for Giannis? Should they move Jared Allen? Darius Garland heard it until he was moved.
Yeah.
Guys get sick of hearing that. The only way to shut it up is by winning and winning again.
You got to go produce, right? Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Cavs up, like I said, 123-114 right now. I did mention Thomas Bryant. He's having, like I said, a good game, 9.6 rebounds and 2 steals. So you have to keep an eye on that as well. But we're going to do this. Yeah, no, for real, absolutely. We're going to do this. We're going to take a quick pause here, Chad, okay? We're going to let everybody get some caffeine. I think I'm going to get some more lemonade. I'm drinking lemonade tonight. Some lemonade.
I've already thought. I like it.
I know. How about that? Yeah. We're going to take a quick pause, let everybody on the West Coast get their dinner. Mm-hmm. When we come back, we're going to talk about the UFC, boxing, combat sports. Here's the thing, my friend. I feel like I wrestled my entire life pretty much, and I love MMA. I've covered UFC events. I feel like right now combat sports is at a weird point in discussions, and it's usually not. We aren't usually having good discussions about combat sports, and we're obviously a lot of times not talking about what's going on in the octagon or the ring or things like that. So we're gonna discuss that, and then later, Chad and I, and really kudos to Chad, we put together a great list for Tuesday Top 5. I cannot wait to share it. Chad's excited. It's one of our favorite times of the day. Tuesday Top 5 coming up later on in the show. Before we go to break, though, of course, want to remind you about our friend Allie Rose and AllieRoseFragrances.com, which there is a code, InsideEdge20. Use the capital I, capital E, InsideEdge20, all one word, InsideEdge20, and you get some great candles, some great body mist. I'm so excited you hear me I'm ready to tell you all about it. But body mist, the candles, the spring editions out, the lemon bar, the soft bloom, some great options. Now, they still have the other options, I believe, still on the website. So you can still go get your spiced apple. You can get these other options that are available. But just a great option for spring. And with everything coming up, you want to open up the windows. You want to get some good scents going. I mean, why not light up an Allie Rose fragrance candle, get it going. And everybody here on the network is taking advantage of the code, getting their candles, getting ready. Chad's done it.
Yes.
We have to just let you know that this is one of the greatest smelling candles you'll put in your house. Chad, am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. You only left me with one option, but thankfully it was the right option. You are right. They smell amazing. Vegan, again, all cruelty-free materials go into all these candles, homemade, right here in the USA. It's nice. Seasonal scents. I mean, where are you going to go and get seasonal scents? And they look really cool too. They have different colors that you can even choose from for the same scents, which I think is amazing. And they just, like I've said before on the show, they smell so clean. I do not know about the body mist. I am sure that they smell amazing because the candles are phenomenal. But yeah, you can't go wrong. Go to AllieRoseFragrances.com. Like we said, use the code InsideEdge20. Get 20% off your first order. And please, like I said, you're helping out a small business and you're doing yourself a favor because your house, you, whoever, if you're giving this as a gift, they're going to smell amazing. It's awesome.
Absolutely. You heard Chad and I use the code first-time customers, InsideEdge20. That's at AllieRoseFragrances.com And get yourself a great candle, get yourself a great body mist, and let's bring spring in together with our friend Allie Rose and AllieRoseFragrances.com. All right, Chad, I'm going to give you a second to go get some water or whatever you need to go do. I'm going to let everybody at home go and get their self situated. When we come back, we're going to talk about combat sports and what the heck is going on there. But we'll be back. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I'm Eli Moon, and we're back right after this. And welcome back to Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I'm Eli Moon, and we are back. Cavs and Magic currently battling final minute or two in the Cavs game. So we'll go over that in just a second. I'm having a bad hair day, so I'm trying to fix that. And while we're doing that, Chad, I know you can relate on bad hair days. I know you can relate, man. We got about the same amount of hair,
Happens,
Yeah.
man.
All right. With that being said,
I just hope you never had hair listen anymore. It's fine.
well, here's the thing. Even if I was having a bad hair day, I want you to know something. One of our great sponsors, Monster Moments Photography, would get me together. We're going to take a quick moment here and listen to them.
Mosser Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Ryan and Hallie Mosser. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northern Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more at mossermomentsphotography.com.
All right, Chad, here's the thing. I know I'm going to be together if we get with Monster Moments Photography. I'm going to look great. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be put together. All right, look. So
Yes.
we're going to be good. All right, so that is, of course, our friend Monster Moments Photography, Ryan and Hallie Mosser. Ryan Mosser does a great job Sunday Sports Show with Chad Bryan and the Commissioner's Couch podcast with David Calhoun here on the Inside Edge Network. Make sure you stay locked in with Inside Edge Net on all the socials. Chad, I don't know how to start this conversation after yesterday. And we got a little bit of conversation on social media.
Man.
What was that?
Just rip off the Band-Aid, man.
I know. I thought you said I was having a bad hair day. I was like, not you agreeing with me. Oh my God. But no, I don't know how to really start this. We got a little bit of chatter on our social media. When we had the clip go out yesterday about the discussion about the UFC, Michael Venom Page, in the kind of beef with Dana White, walking out they don't care about us, from Michael Jackson, and then Dana White apparently walking out during his fight, not even getting like a co-main event in his home country for Michael Venom Page, a guy who's very established, maybe not in the UFC all the way. He's only had a few fights in the UFC, but he's established. He's one of the more notable guys in mixed martial arts in the last 10 years. But it seems like every time we have a discussion about the UFC or boxing, it's always about something outside of the octagon, outside of the ring, and it's usually in a bad light, whether we're talking about Sean Strickland or we're talking about the semantics and the antics of Jake Paul, whether you like Jake Paul or you don't like Jake Paul. It seems like we're always talking about something nonsensical with Jake Paul. But it always seems like we're having some sort of discussion that isn't involving the sports. And it seems like gone are the days of talking about Chuck Liddell and George St. Pierre and all of these stars of the UFC, the Forrest Griffins of the world. And gone are the days in boxing of talking of, the stars, the Manny Pacquiaos of the world. Floyd Mayweather back, when Floyd was doing his thing, even Pretty Boy Floyd and, even Canelo Alvarez and Triple G. I mean, seems like gone are the days of talking about the sport, and more so it's turning into, and I love the Side Hustle Wrestling podcast, but it is turning into professional wrestling where it is storyline driven, but the action seems like you could flick out, you could turn away from it. You flick the channel, turn it off, you get away from what's going on. Yeah. But I'm telling you, there used to be a time where I would watch every Saturday. I'd be like, growing up, Mama, Papa Moon, please, can I get the UFC pay-per-view? Please, younger Eli Moon, please. And now it's,
I'll pay you back.
Yeah, and I still working on paying them back.
Yeah.
To this day, you'll never be able to pay your parents back. That's how I just look at it. But I'm trying. But gone are those days of paying $60. UFC's offering it for like $9 a month, $10 a month or whatever on Paramount Plus, I believe, for all the UFC pay-per-views. And we still, just to be real, haven't taken advantage of that. Because talking about streaming services and just how much they charge, why are we going to pay an extra $10 when there's not enough buzz about the UFC right now? So this is where I pose a question to you, Chad, and I'm curious. Is popularity for combat sports at an all-time low?
I don't know. I mean, I think those discussions are still happening somewhere, Eli. I just think they're when you stumble onto those things on social media, it's more like the hardcore fans, right? Like the guys who are going to be there, the ladies who are going to be there no matter what. I guess the people who really truly appreciate the sport. But I think it's hard to find the right mix because when it's all fighting based, you go, well, we don't have any personalities, right? So what do? Well, we gotta drive some personalities. We're gonna have to force the issue. And then, like you said, it becomes dangerously, it kind of toes the line of becoming professional wrestling, which you don't really want to compete with. I mean, professional wrestling has a model that's worked for years and years and years and years. Mm-hmm. It's hard to compete with that. So then people go, well, now this is all, these are storylines. This is stuff that's it's kind of written out. It's planned to be this way, right? That doesn't interest me. If I wanted to do that, I could just watch wrestling. So you got to have the right mix. I mean, I think about the 80s and 90s all the time when we had really good fighters, right? I mean, I grew up watching Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, many, many more. A lot of guys that just is too many to name. I'm not going to name every fighter that I watched, but there was a reason to watch. You had some personalities. You had some different type of, people who clashed in the ring, people who just were really interesting matchups, really interesting draw. The way they fought, their styles went together well, and it was an interesting watch. A lot of these guys now, they spar together. They've fought each other 150 times, right? So they know each other, and you can see that they intimately know each other in the ring. Boom, they go out, and it's like they lock, and that's it. It's 3 minutes of just them locking and whatever. There's no real action, right? Sometimes that happens. There are some really good fights still, but it's not. I don't know. I think you just have to have, like I said, you have to have the right mix, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to fix it. I'm not really I'm not throwing shade because I'm not. I couldn't step in there day one and go, okay, here's what we're gonna do. That's unrealistic to think that, but you've got to have the right mix of action, like actual fighting, right? You got to have you got to have great fighters, and then some of those guys have to have great personalities, and sometimes those two things don't always go together. So you're forced to kind of, I don't know, force it, for lack of a better word, right? You've got to write the storylines and make sure that the right fighters get to the top, and make sure the right guys are seen, the right women are seen, and in certain ways, and you got to set up, and then things feel, everything feels it just doesn't feel natural, right? It doesn't flow.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem that they're stuck in. It's like, which way do you go? Do you go with, all fighting, all personality? We're struggling to find the mix. The guys are losing interest. I mean, it's like, guys that are up high, in the hierarchy of the people who run this are and sometimes I think from a fan standpoint, I don't watch a lot because there's so many different little factions and different division. I don't even mean weight classes. I just mean there's just different. I don't know who fights who anymore. It used to be very evident. It was like the heavyweights fought, the flyweights, the whatever, the bantamweight. You knew who was going to fight who. And now I think the waters are so muddied that it's hard for a casual fan to step in and go, I don't know who I'm rooting for because I don't know what rivalries there are. Who fights who anymore? Like who's in what organization? Where do I find them? How do I pay the streaming cost on this platform for these fights? And I got to Netflix is on every other set, whatever. It's hard to find. Quite honestly, There's no marketing, there's no promotion, and it's really hard to know where to find the fights unless you're a hardcore fan. So I think that's why, the casual fan's kind of out right now. It's just not really. As speaking as a casual fan, it's just not really on my radar. I don't see it.
It's interesting you mentioned marketing and promotion because I feel like there's two things that stand out to me for the UFC right now. It's one, that the fighters in combat sports in general. Let me be very clear, not just UFC, mixed martial arts, boxing, all combat sports in general. The fighters have fallen more in love with promotion and in hyping up the fight than actually fighting. To be real with you, and I'm not questioning the heart and integrity of fighters. But I am questioning that why is it that we get more excited for a press conference leading up to the fight than the actual 5-round fight that's going to take place on a Saturday night? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That fight is such a letdown, and there's no action. There's no all this buildup and all the social media hype for nothing. And it's like you're making money off the hype, but not the fight anymore. And people are tired of the hype, I think.
They've created a model in combat sports now where fighters realize they have to have a personality, some sort of gimmick, almost like pro wrestling, to get to the top of the card. And unfortunately, the UFC really isn't, in these combat sports aren't going for that, especially the UFC. Boxing a little bit more goes for like the personalities, but the UFC is not going for the personalities anymore. The Conor McGregors of the world, the John Jones of the world, these guys, they want somebody that's just going to be able to conform to, hey, we need you to fight. We need you to make some money. You're not going to make, a ton of money because we have fighters saying we're broke after post-fight interviews, in the cage, right in the octagon. It's like we have that going on. But meanwhile, we have money pouring in through the gates. We have money pouring in through merch, money pouring in. So I think that's another reason, too, is like I'm sick of the mistreatment. Somebody who I've wrestled my whole life. And to see just the mistreatment, and these guys are doing some of the toughest things in the world. And I get it. Some people don't like fighting, whatever. But this is the sport they chose. It is prize fighting. And they are doing what they love to do. And it's one of the toughest things to do is go out there and get punched in the face, kicked in the face, submissions,
literally
knockouts.
Putting their lives on the line. I think
exactly.
Literally putting their lives on. I mean, anything can happen. And the thing that bothers me, like you said, the lack of just the poor treatment. Something that Dana White had said that I read recently is that this isn't a career, this is an opportunity. That's wildly insane to me. I mean, this is a career. If you're putting your life on the line for something and people are making millions of dollars on your back, it is a career. And I think at the very least you deserve to be paid. This is like the whole NIL argument with college sports. I mean,
yes,
the NCAA and these schools making money off the players' backs, and the players don't get anything. I understand the fighters do get paid, but I mean, this is. Listen, I'm not going out and picking up, whatever UFC video game there is right now and rushing into like tryout opportunity mode, right?
Yeah,
it's career mode. You want to have a whole career. You want to be like your legacy, your pay, how much you get. That's what's important. I mean, I don't know, whatever. I get
it. I get it, pal. It's frustrating. Like I said, as somebody who I've done combat
I'm not
sports,
even a hardcore fan.
Yeah, I've done combat sports my whole life pretty much, and I've grown up around it. I mean, that's something I've done. And it's disheartening. It's very disheartening to see where it's at. I think it's a bigger discussion too, and I'm curious. I think we should get Double A back on. We haven't had him on the show in a minute. I think we should get him back on and talk about it because TKO and Endeavor, and I'll talk to him. I'll see him later on tonight, so maybe we'll have a conversation off air and see if we can get him on the show, and maybe in a few weeks or something. But just talk because this is a topic that isn't going away. But with TKO and Endeavor running the UFC and WWE being that parent company, it seems like the morale, the mood is completely shifted. Like, gone are the days of the old UFC. I feel like the vibes, and we've talked about that a little bit on Main Event with Rob and Double A and myself, but the vibes of the UFC and the vibes of WWE from even like 4 years ago, where it was hot for a moment. It was like, man, everything was like going on, and it just seems like, it's a lot of money at the gates and pushing the everyday fans out and letting guys that don't really give a what about the sports coming back in. So
I can remember a day, Eli, when I would see nothing on my Facebook timeline on a Friday or Saturday night, but multiple cards, right? Like, did anybody just see the whatever fight, the whatever? And I'm like, that's got to be that wasn't even the headliner. That wasn't even the main card, People were watching the undercards and excited, and there was like a discussion on Facebook or whatever on Twitter. And now I barely see that. I don't see people I know posting on social media anymore. I feel like a lot of my, just a lot of my friends and acquaintances maybe they're casual fans too, and they've kind of fallen off. I think it's like a lack of. There's no draw right now. They're great fighters, but it's almost hard. Like they're being mistreated. They're not. They seem disgruntled, and I understand. I wouldn't throw stones. I mean, if I'm going in there and fighting and put my life on the line, like. I want to be taken care of. I want to be compensated as well, right? You look at some of the boxers that have made $1 billion in their career or whatever, and I think it's perfectly fair for these men and women to want that kind of compensation. I don't know. I just think it's marketing promotion. There's just it's again the waters are a little muddied. Nobody really knows who's fighting out of what anymore. If you're just a casual fan, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
And they're lacking in promoting the good stories. We hear a lot of bad, and the bad guys seemingly getting all the good shots, and
Yeah. No press is bad press, though, right?
It's getting old. It's getting old, pal.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what isn't getting old is Chad and I. We are in our prime, and this is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. We are rocking and rolling. We are going to take a quick pause, however. We're going to hear, of course, from our friends at sportsmemorabilia.com in just a moment. And then when we come back, we're going to do Tuesday Top 5. We're going to go over our list. It's an exciting one this week. We might get a little bit of arguments, but I don't think so. I think you guys will like this, everybody. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. We're going to take a quick pause here. Let everybody get their caffeine, get your dinner, get ready, get situated. Of course, Midnight Run with Anthony Alford coming up after us. But again, one more time, we're going to hear from our friends at sportsmemorabilia.com, and then Chad and I will be back to wrap up this Tuesday edition of Inside Edge Primetime.
There you go. Whether you're searching for a baseball autographed by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source of authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and player. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, but you'll have the satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee.
and welcome back to the Inside Edge Network. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network. Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon, and I am feeling great, Chad. You know why? Because we have a great sponsor that helps us keep Jitterless Energy Blend rocking, zero sugar, and that's our friends at W Energy. Of course, Chad, we have great energy already, but if we need more, we go to W Energy and we go ahead and use the code InsideEdge10. Of course, I can tell you all about it, but before I do, why don't we just go ahead and pull the code up and hear from our friends at W Energy? How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right.
Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about W. Clean energy, no jitters or crash. Helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 absolute fire flavors to choose from. Visit w.gg and use promo code InsideEdge10.
So that's the code InsideEdge10, Chad. And for anybody out there, InsideEdge10 is the code. W Energy, 15 great flavors. I mean, a ton of different flavors to choose from. Zero sugar, great energy, however. And if you're needing that extra boost to rock for prime time and for Midnight Run with Anthony Alford later on in the Inside Edge Network, then go ahead and get some W Energy. Use the code InsideEdge10. How's that sound, Chad?
Sounds great to me. I would do it.
Amazing. Sounds great. You know what also sounds great? It's Tuesday. We're at the final segment of the show. I know you hate when I look at my my watch, but look at my watch.
There's no watch. I'm not wearing a watch. I don't understand.
Look. Here's the thing. I'm working on it. Maybe next show I'll wear a watch. But
Sleep
it's time. It's time. Ready? Drum roll, please.
I thought we had a drum roll. I was excited.
Boom.
Super excited. All right,
Tuesday top 5.
No drum roll, but Tuesday top 5. And like in other weeks, we have a topic. We're talking about something, because why in the world would we have a Tuesday top 5? We didn't have a topic, right? So it's March Madness. We're talking an NCAA tournament. We're talking men's basketball. Why not do the top 5 Cinderella squads, the NCAA men's basketball Cinderella squads of all time? And some of our top 5s, some of the Tuesday top 5s are kind of silly. They're kind of funny, so we go with the music. But no music this week, because this is all, well, it's not serious. I mean, it's fun. It's sports. It's basketball. It's not, not that serious. But we don't need the silly music this week because it's fun. So our top 5, again, no slow review. I'm just going to tell you. The top 5 is the 1985 Villanova squad. This is as an 8 seed. They're still the lowest seed of any national title winner to this day. So they had to make our list, right? Came into the tournament at 19-10. Didn't win any of their first 3 games by more than 5 points. Snuck their way through. Just kept being a little bit better than people. Beat a Georgetown team in the national final that year that had Patrick Ewing, coached by Raleigh Massimino. This team, the 1985 Villanova squad that came in again 19-10 as an 8 seed, and won the national title. Eli,
that's super impressive, Chad. And I mean, we see, when I think of Villanova, I think of Jalen Brunson and those guys, and Chris Jenkins. I think of other guys like that. But this 1985 team, I mean, yeah, incredible. Are they holding up bricks?
I don't know. I meant to look into this picture. I wanted to get a little bit of clarification, because there's somebody with an extremely long arm. I'm guessing that guy was blocking some shots in this NCAA tournament. But, it looks like the 2 fellas in front of the picture there, they're holding bricks. And I just don't know if that's what you want to associate your basketball team with. But it worked for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess
bricks.
Yeah, this team may make an appearance, but we I don't know if they will or not. But we've had a team referred to as Dunks. Maybe this was Brick City. I don't know, Villanova. I'm not really sure. I tried to get some clarification. Couldn't find anything. The guy in the front left looks suspiciously like Paulie, from the Rocky movies, Uncle Paulie. So maybe somebody owes him some money. He's like, hey, Villanova won, I got a brick over here. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. I thought this was a weird picture, but it was fun to use. So that's fine. The number 4 team on our list, and this was tough, Eli. There was a lot of back and forth. There are a lot of really memorable, and there are a couple teams that we talked about before that we left off of here that it hurt a little bit. But you've got to pick 5, right? You can't do 7. A top 5 isn't 7. That's not how math works, right? You got to pick 5 teams. So we left a couple of teams off, but I tried to go most memorable, whether it's great personalities or a memorable win, or sometimes it was just the resume. Like, who did you beat, right, to get to where you got to as a Cinderella? So
Yeah.
Number 4, I think, is pretty easy to see. I went with the 1983 North Carolina State Wolfpack, and they obviously were coached by Jim Valvano, huge personality there, probably one of the most charismatic,
Oh, we lost Chad for just a moment.
which may seem a little bit high. I know that's not quite a Cinderella, whatever. You're like, well, they're a 6, but man, they beat some teams. Eli, they beat a Virginia team that had Ralph Sampson, okay, who would go on to be the number 1 overall pick. They beat a Houston team which had Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. Clyde Drexler was the number 2 pick in that draft, just before a guy named Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who ended up being okay at basketball. Uh, he was okay. Probably proved his worth as a number 3 pick. Maybe some people say, I don't know, if a couple of teams had it to do over, maybe they'd pick Jordan instead of Ralph Sampson and Clyde Drexler. But that's okay. That's okay. But that just shows you how highly thought of these guys were at the time. Obviously, Clyde Drexler had a great career with the Portland Trailblazers, but he wasn't Michael Jordan, right? So anyway, they beat those teams, and Jim Valvano, like I said, just one of the most charismatic basketball, maybe just coaches of any sport of all time. And they won in a very dramatic fashion. If you remember, it was a tie game. The kind of the last second eve, and the catch, and it ended up being an inadvertent alley oop or whatever to win the game. And I don't know, I thought that was really cool. Just against that Houston squad, the five slamma jamma, just all the fun stuff, right? The big win. I had to include the '83 Wolfpack.
You had to. And you know what? You can't think of NC State in the history of NC State basketball without Jim Valvano and that team. I mean, in the historic, put back, I mean, you see the 30 for 30. I remember watching the 30 for 30 on this squad, and it was so cool. And you think of the Wolfpack, they had that run a few years ago, or I believe they went to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. They made a deep run, and it really reminded me of the '83 squad, not entirely, but just the vibes. Like, okay, NC State's making a little run again. This is exciting, and yeah, I mean, they obviously weren't as far achieved as the 1983 squad, but yeah. You gotta think of NC State when you think of March Madness. You gotta think of Jim Valvano, the incredible speech, incredible guy, incredible team, and yeah, NC State. I don't have any problem so far with our list, Chad. You're doing pretty good so far, pal.
Hey, I tried, but this is tough. Like I said, this is a tough one. It wasn't easy at all. So again,
you didn't wait real quick before you get any further. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
But you didn't leave. You didn't put any teams that didn't win the national championship over teams that won the national championship, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you really define as a Cinderella team and who made a run. Because listen, like I said, we've got the lowest seed ever to win a national title here, right?
Yep.
We've got the '85 Villanova squad as an 8 seed. They're the lowest seed to ever do it. So yeah, we've got a couple teams on this list that did not win a national title because they had a memorable run, right? They were, regardless of winning the title, they were a memorable team. They had a memorable run. Something about their season, their run, their tournament, whatever it was memorable. And I think that fits actually for the number 3 team on our list. Do you guys remember Dunk City? Because, man, how much fun was that 2013 Florida Gulf Coast team to watch? They were a 15 seed. Eli, they were the first 15 seed to ever reach the Sweet 16 in the tournament's history. I thought that was worth something. Maybe not number 1. And again, you didn't necessarily have to win the national title to make it on this list. You had to come out of nowhere, and you had to make a memorable run for your time and place. And I thought Florida Gulf Coast was just the embodiment of that. They beat, again, they're a team that beat Georgetown down kind of big, and then went on a really crazy run against Georgetown. It's just so memorable to me because of all the dunks. And I tried to catch that in the picture that I used here. But man, that was a really, really fun run, man. Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City. I told you before the show, I swear somehow, and watching them, their uniforms were in higher def than everybody else's uniform. It was wild. Something about them just stood out to me at the time. It was so much fun. So they had to make the list. I put them at number 3, Eli.
I don't have any problem with that because I was rushing home to see any Florida Gulf Coast game, or if during I was in school, not to date myself, but I was probably a sophomore in high school, so I was finishing up sophomore year, yeah. And so that's Florida Gulf Coast, watching them during, school, getting to watch on the TV. We talked about that before, off air and on air, I believe, in a little bit, just rolling in the TV and getting to watch Florida Gulf Coast and getting to see the impact this team left, this 2013 Florida Gulf Coast team. We talk about remembering colleges. You think of George Mason because of some of these teams. You think of some of these other teams, VCU. You think of all these squads. You think of Florida Gulf Coast because of this 2013 team, the dunks, the alley-oops, the crazy runs they went on in the 15 seed. So you know what? Okay, I get you, pal. I get you. 2013 Florida Gulf Coast, welcome to the top 3.
Pure excitement, pure adrenaline, just a lot of fun to watch. Just fun, maybe a little bit ahead of their time, I think, possibly.
Yes. You know what? And if they would have got it, maybe a little bit of a better draw. Maybe if they were like a 10 seed, who knows? But I mean, that's why it shapes out. That's why they're Cinderella squad.
That's why they are a Cinderella. Otherwise, they would have been a front runner, right? They could be Gonzaga. So
that's our next week. That's next week. Spoiler alert: front runner squads of
the top 5 front runners.
Top 5 top seeds. Yeah.
All Kentucky. It's very boring. It's nothing.
Yes.
Kentucky had a run. What are you gonna do? All right. So the next squad, the number 2 team on our Inside Edge Primetime Tuesday top 5. All-time Cinderella squads. It's a pre-Shaq LSU team. It's 1986 LSU, and I put them on here because they're the only 11 seed. Well, first of all, they're an 11 seed. They got to the Final Four. That's pretty amazing, right? They were the first 11 seed to get to the Final Four. They also became the only 11 seed to ever beat a 1, a 2, and a 3 seed in the same tournament. That was worth it to me. That elevated them to number 2. They knocked off Memphis State, they beat Georgia Tech, and they beat Kentucky. Speaking of Kentucky, in that order, actually, in the 86 tournament. So they went right through those teams, and those were really close games. They won by an average of less than 4 points per game in those 3 games. They ultimately went down to Louisville in the national semifinal and the Final Four. But, man, the 1986 LSU squad, first 11 seed to ever reach a Final Four and beat a 1, a 2, and a 3 in the process. I thought that was pretty impressive. So they're number 2 on our list.
You know what? I originally thought this was potentially the Shaquille O'Neal team. I had to make sure, it was 3 years too shy. But I think this is really impressive. I think of teams that make these runs, and this LSU squad, you don't think of anybody that maybe stood out entirely as a legend of the NBA or anything like that. But that's what makes college fun, is like these legends. We just saw Robbie Avila of Avila, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, but Robbie Avila of St. Louis, he was at Indiana State, March Madness legend. I mean, you see these stories, and maybe he won't be an NBA star, but you just see these legends, and that's so cool to see. So shout out 1986, shout out LSU. I wasn't doing too much in 1986, Chad, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was 7. It's fine. I don't remember this team though. I do remember the Shaq LSU years. I remember those years. And I think the first time I really started to remember the Final Four was honestly, it would have been the Raleigh Massimino UNLV days. It's really when I really started watching more closely when Duke was a thing. Whatever, Duke played UNLV a couple times in a row. That's really when I probably first started watching the NCAA tournament and just watching the Final Four and paying attention. So the 83 NC State squad, I don't remember. 85 Villanova, not in my mind. 86 LSU, nope, didn't have it. But as you read about it, you look back, just the impact. And again, LSU is not not a mid-major. Obviously they're LSU, right? But also not really known as a basketball school. 11 seed. I mean, kind of came out of nowhere. So that qualifies for me.
When I think of LSU, before we get to number 1, I think of 2 players, and you're gonna laugh at me here.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
And Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
and Ben Simmons didn't make the tourney.
I think of Pistol Pete. It was a little bit before my time, but I think of Pistol Pete when I think of LSU.
That's fair. I mean, how could I? As a basketball guy, that's actually like a foul. That was a foul by me right there.
That's okay. Well, you're young. You don't know any better. It's not your fault. You're young.
Whatever. Don't school me here. What's number 1, pal?
Number 1. Don't ask me what number 1. I'll make me do stuff. Listen, this was actually this was the next 11 seed to reach a Final Four. Nobody had done so since those 86 LSU Tigers that we just talked about at number 2. So out of the 11 seed, out of that 11 slot, came in with a 23-7 record and shocked some people along the way to really a run all the way to the Final Four. 2006 George Mason. And this team was a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons. My godson's name is Mason, so I remember that was some fun for some of the family and friends. Hey, we're picking George Mason because Mason, right? It's just we talked about all the silly ways you can fill out your bracket. I don't think anybody had George Mason going to the Final Four, but it was a lot of fun to watch them And just that run was amazing. Who expected Georgia? I mean, I think that's really one of the first major underdog stories uh, that I can remember of a team that just was like, who? You know what I mean? Coming out of nowhere and going all the way to the Final Four. That was a lot of fun. I wish we had more of that. I wish we had more 11 seeds going to the Final Four and, a 15 seed in the Elite Eight or whatever. It would be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, it destroys your bracket. Hardly anyone calls these things. I doubt anyone had a perfect bracket up to the Final Four that year, but it's still a lot of fun, right? 2006 George Mason. So that's why they're the number one team on my Tuesday top 5 Cinderella squad list. Anyway, it may not be number one on yours, but let us know.
No, we're with it. We're with it, man. I love it, and I think of 2011 VCU. We were talking about that. That's the only team that I felt like maybe should have made a list. Shaka Smart, and all of that. But you think of the mid majors and the runs. This George Mason squad in 2006 set the tone. And you're right. I mean, where did they come from when they came out of nowhere? So I can understand why VCU was left off the list with some of these incredible teams. And
Eli, I remember that team, but the only reason I left them off is they beat 2 other 11s on the way. So it was like, okay. Yeah.
I get you. Hey, strong list, pal. Another strong list. Another great Tuesday top 5. And and if you disagree with us, well, sorry. No, but if you do disagree with us, let us know. If you agree, let us know in the comments. And follow obviously on Inside Edge Net.
This is a discussion. Actually, I don't. If you disagree, that's fine. It's a discussion I would love to have. I think it's a lot of fun to see different people's perspectives on some of these teams. It's all about when you started watching them, when you picked up, and how the Davidson teams with Steph Curry. I mean, not one teams, the one team with Steph Curry. I left them off the list, and there were others. I can't just. I don't know. I mean, others that caught my eye in some way, but didn't quite make the top 5. I'm looking at, like I said, Florida Gulf, Loyola, Chicago. They were fun, again, and had a ton of personality, but it was just when it came down to these smaller teams making the run, I was like, who'd you beat, right? If you beat a 1, 2, or 3 seat, whatever, that's pretty good.
You left Sister Jean off the list? Jean off the list. Okay.
I'm in trouble. I know. I'm in trouble. I'm going to have to go confess or something. I got to do something.
Well,
I get it.
Let's put a bow on this thing before we get in any more trouble. Final thoughts here, Chad. Let's you want to lead the way with the final thoughts?
Forgive me, Sister Jean. I have sinned. No. No, it's not that. Final thoughts. Again, just as we head into I guess as we head into the Sweet 16 coming up here. What do they start? Everything's going on this week. We got
Thursday.
opening day. Yeah, opening day, Sweet 16 on Thursday. Big day for sports. So I guess rest up, get your rest, hydrate, because you're going to be maybe you're going to be up yelling at your TV again. I don't know how big of a baseball fan you are. I try not to yell at my TV until playoff time. I'm a Braves fan. The Braves make it easy. Again, we'll start the season with at least 80% of the starting rotation on the IL. So that's super fun. But that, again, Eli, it makes it like you don't even have to like really worry about yelling at your TV because the expectations are significantly lowered. So it's fine. It's whatever. That's my final thought. Rest up, hydrate, get ready for a lot of sports going on this week. We got opening day, we got Sweet 16 stuff. It's going to be a fun weekend. Hopefully your baseball team starts off 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, maybe. Yeah, out in first place. Everybody's got hope right now. Everybody has it.
I love it, pal. My final thoughts are that, first off, the comments are wild. Then, second off,
you were amazing in Walker, Texas Ranger. I'm not going
to Thank you. Yes. First off, and rest in peace to Chuck Norris out there.
Yes, of course.
Rest in peace to Chuck Norris. He actually passed when I was in Texas, which I mean that was sad. But my final thoughts are: first off, the Cavs go final 136-131 over the Orlando Magic. They win in Cleveland. My final thoughts are: don't freak out or get too excited about a March game. It is a good win. I'm very excited. I said earlier this is a game that you need to get a W in. But don't freak out, yes or no. Do we know the answer to that question we asked earlier of do you believe that the duo of Mitchell and Harden is enough to win an NBA championship? We don't know. We don't know yet. But don't freak out yet. Enjoy the ride because we're about to go on a run here. And let's see if we can get out of the second round. My final thoughts are enjoy the ride. Let's see if Jared Allen can get back healthy and rock and roll from there. So with that being said, we're going to take a pause until tomorrow.
It's a long pause.
A long pause. I know. I always get everybody. But we're going to take a pause. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, for prime time. Back here at 10 o'clock. Again, program reminder, Thursday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. For prime time. We'll get you ready for the Guardians preview. We'll talk about some March Madness and all that fun jazz. And then, of course, we have a very busy weekend, and we'll talk about all that coming up here on the Inside Edge Network. Make sure you follow at Inside Edge Net. Double A Anthony Alford will be with you from midnight to 1 a.m. And that's for Midnight Run with Anthony Alford. I'll be producing that, so make sure you tune on in. And, yeah, like I said, Chad and I will be back here tomorrow. So until then, I want everybody to have a safe rest of your night. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. Stay safe. I already said it once, but say it twice.
Very, very safe. Very
Be
safe.
very, very safe.
Yes.
All right. That's Chad Bryan. You're dang right. That's Chad Bryan. I'm Eli Moon. This is the Inside Edge Network. This is Inside Edge Primetime here on the Inside Edge Network, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.